Oh, BioWare, what have you done? I'm sorry, I'm just feeling a little bit like someone kicked me in the balls. I've clocked up 7 hours on Dragon Age 2 now, and I just thought I'd share my thoughts with you all so far. Obviously, given how long I've played it, I can't really judge the story or the characters and so on. I'll hold off on that until I've actually completed the game. But there are a lot of things going on at the moment with Dragon Age 2 which I am not enjoying and are causing me serious gripes. So I'm going to get those out to you now, and when I've completed the game, we'll come back to it and give it a proper analysis. Alright, for those of you who didn't play the first Dragon Age, go and do so. It's one of the best RPGs of the current generation, and, in my humble opinion, it deserves a place among the top RPGs of all time. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a throwback to when RPGs were at their best, when you needed to make real moral choices, where the world wasn't black and white, and where everything you did had an effect. There was also the mechanical element of gameplay as well. You needed to tweak your character's build to get the most out of them, seeking out specific items to complement what you were trying to do and the tactics you were using. As I said, it wasn't perfect, even in the storytelling department, but the plot was still strong, the characters were very memorable, and the best of all, it presented you with brilliant questions, brilliant scenarios. It made you question your perceptions of morality, society, and a whole host of other difficult issues. You could pursue solutions to your problems through violence, diplomacy, cunning, and many other ways. Each solution was valid, and while some were easier than others, there was always a way to resolve a given situation the way that you wanted to do it. Of course, the best scenarios were the aforementioned tough decision moments. Do you let that mage out, knowing you could potentially be a dangerous practitioner of blood magic that could destroy you and your party and possibly the whole village? Or do you play it safe and imprison him, taking away his freedom forever on nothing more than suspicion? The stakes are high, a man's freedom versus the possible chaos and destruction if these suspicions are correct, and that decision falls to you. So, with that in mind, let me tell you that Dragon Age 2 has, thus far at least, had very little of all that glory. In fact, it has very little of anything. The best way I can describe Dragon Age 2 is horrendously dumbed down. I think BioWare were trying to streamline the game, but ultimately, when you start taking away choice to emphasize accessibility, you usually end up sacrificing some of the actual fun of the game in the process. If you're not familiar with RPGs, then Dragon Age Origins was an uphill struggle learning the system, balancing your inventory, learning how the different classes work, how they work together, so on and so forth. But once you got through that, it was hugely rewarding to put a team together using tactics which you've come up with, and to have it just work perfectly. So, now we know how it was done and what it was like, and it was done really well, let's see how those lessons transferred over to Dragon Age 2. The dialogue is now handled a la Mass Effect. This, my friends, is just shit. Dragon Age Origins had a huge range of options to choose from. You sometimes had more than 10 different ways of replying to someone in conversation. However, in Dragon Age 2, you have exactly 3 ways that you can go. Saint.
Voice down. There's another dragon close by.
You should get out of here.
Don't have to tell me twice. You should leave too. But don't go that way. There's this huge dragon.
Jackass.
You'd better get going. Try not to get eaten.
Don't have to tell me twice. You should leave too. But don't go that way. There's this huge dragon.
And Thug.
Get a move on. Get out.
Don't have to tell me twice. You should leave too. But don't go that way. There's this huge dragon.
Oh, are we gonna go that way? I've never seen a huge dragon before.
That's it. There's no choice, no different ways of approaching the problems and situations that you're put in. You can ask questions if you want, but it doesn't change a damn thing. When the time comes to make the decision, you either go Saint, Jackass, or Thug. So much for one of the crowning glories of Dragon Age Origins. Oh, it's not just the dialogue that's gone to hell as well. Oh, no siree. Your inventory and equipment has now been beaten with the dumbstick too. Pretty much every item you find is now main character only, which means of course that you can no longer tinker with your party's equipment to get them all working just how you like. Oh, about a quarter of the items that you find you can dole out to your party, but they're usually the really bad ones. This begs just one question, just one. Why? Why is it that my main character, who's a rogue, can wear my blood dragon armor, at least he could if he had the stats, but my main tank, the person who really should have it, can't? What kind of sense does that make on any level? Dragon Age Origins had the perfect system. Each item had a stat requirement, and occasionally a level requirement to make sure that you didn't cheese the difficulty curve. That was fine. Some of them were restricted to specific classes, which again made a good degree of sense. I can understand signature things like Varric's crossbow being character specific, but seriously, what is it about these armoured boots that lets me wear them but no one else? Is no one else in the party my shoe size or something? To further add insult to injury, I can't even sell the blood dragon armor for profit because apparently it's worth exactly 1 copper. I'm never going to be able to equip it. I'm playing as a rogue and this is a suit of full plate. Why can't I equip it to anyone else in my party? That didn't happen in the original Dragon Age. I'm sorry. I know I'm going on about this a lot, but I just can't fathom why BioWare would do this. I can't understand it. What does it bring to the game? What does it add to the game, only being able to equip your main character? Are we supposed to just not worry about it? That's the fun of RPGs, is getting your party kitted out with legendary gear, wandering in looking like a badass in shining gold armor, and kicking ass with it. But no, apparently that's not what we want. What we want is what do we want? What do BioWare think that we want? You know, it doesn't even make any sense from an in-character perspective. I mean, in Neverwinter Nights 2, the lead character towards the end of the game gets a hugely powerful sword. No one else can wield it except that character, and apart from sheer plot awesomeness, there is very good reasons given why no one else can wield the sword bar the lead character. No such reasoning is given here. They don't even give us a World of Warcraft soul-bound explanation, it's just main character only. Oh, and here's the thing that really gets my blood simmering. There's a section in your inventory for junk items. Junk items. These serve no purpose at all beyond taking up space and being saleable for petty cash. So, from a game mechanic perspective, can I just ask, why bother? Why not just give us the sodding money as part of the drop when the enemies die? Final Fantasy XII tried to do exactly the same thing, and that was just torture. It was just busy work. Look, we can accept that monsters drop money, okay? It's not going to break immersion. We can justify it as skinning the thing or whatever. This just adds pointless busy work. If BioWare wanted something to limit the number of items that we could carry, why not just set the bloody item limit in your inventory lower? It makes no sense. What does it add to the game? What does it accomplish? What does it achieve? Why is it there? There's no reason! That's been my experience of Dragon Age so far. Things not making any sense. Why can't I play as a non-human? Why can't my party equip certain items? Why did you butcher the dialogue system? Why the fuck do all the Qunari suddenly have horns? Why are you telling me characters from the previous games are popping up instead of having a dramatic reveal? Why can't I call out one of my companions for being a blood mage? That's not a little thing in Thedas. Oh, Christ. Even the combat has gone to hell. Now, instead of tactical fights, everything quickly devolves into a meaningless, frantic brawl with next to no reward for planning or strategy. Click on an enemy and wait for it to die. Click on a new enemy. If you feel creative, use one of your powers, although they're nowhere near as important now as they used to be. There's no need to position your party or to set things up. It's just an example of gutting away anything that the game has that is intellectually challenging or rewarding. BioWare were just going for the lowest common denominator and throwing in flashy action sequences which just don't have any actual substance to them. You can even get through the game without using your powers. I barely use any of my powers. I occasionally use the backstab. That's about it. Apart from that, basic attacks all the way through. Oh, and then there's the little things. Things like the fact BioWare frequently copy-paste the same fucking maps over and over again, especially for caves. It seems like every cave in the Free Marches was built to the exact same specification, and bits of it were just walled off as needed. That is just lazy. You want to know what the worst part of all this is? The very, very worst part? Dragon Age 2 isn't actually that bad. If this game had been released on its own, and not part of a series, it would have passed as a fairly good title. Not world-breaking, but definitely sticking its head above the rest of the crowd. But the problem is, it represents the systematic deconstruction of everything which made Dragon Age Origins so good. It's like Highlander 2. A bad movie, but the thing that really geared people against it was the fact that it completely and totally destroyed the first movie, which everybody loved. So like it or not, Dragon Age 2 doesn't exist in a vacuum, and it is going to be considered alongside the original Dragon Age, and when compared with that, it looks like a steaming pile of crap. That's the irony of all this. Everything that was good in Dragon Age has been mercilessly cut out. I know I keep going on about it, but I have to make that point because it is why I'm ranting so much about this game, even though technically it's not that bad. I just can't understand how BioWare, with their pedigree, their experience, could completely miss the point and mutilate one of their greatest creations. There are a few positive aspects to Dragon Age 2, such as your attributes giving you secondary bonuses, so there's a reason to level up the ones other than the two which your class actually relies on. And to be fair, in combat, the moves are pretty flashy and impressive looking. It's just a shame that there's absolutely no substance underneath that flair. And as, yeah, you know what? That's about it. So, to summarise, what can you say? Dragon Age 2 would have been an enjoyable title if it had been released on its own, but it wasn't released on its own, so you have to compare it with the original, and when compared with the original, it just doesn't hold up. At all. I won't lie, I've really been rocked. My confidence in BioWare has gone down considerably after this. I am genuinely fearful for Mass Effect 3, rather than actually excited, because if it continues the trend that has been set here, and also in Mass Effect 2, although I don't think that one was quite so bad, we'll touch on that another day, that series is going to go to pot pretty quickly, and in fact the whole company is going to go to pot pretty quickly. If BioWare don't shrug this off and learn from this insult, they're going to be going the same way as Square Enix. Constantly trying to recapture the lost glory of a bygone age and failing miserably and repeatedly with each and every attempt.